All right, let's jump right in with a question that gets to the absolute heart of why people win or lose in the markets. It's a question most of us honestly never even think to ask, but getting it right could change everything for you. Based on the fantastic book, Who Are You?, we're going to figure out, who are you in the market?
This one idea right here, it's a total game changer. Just think about that. If you've ever struggled, it probably wasn't because you weren't smart enough or you didn't have the right info. No, the real problem is something much deeper: role confusion. It means you might be playing the wrong game, or even worse, trying to play 3 different games at once without even realizing it.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to pinpoint the real reason for most losses. Then, we'll break down the 3 completely different games being played out there. We'll dive into the chaos that happens when you mix them up, we'll hear from some absolute market legends, and then we'll help you figure out which role is the natural fit for you.
So what is the real reason people lose? Well, the main idea here is that the problem isn't the market. It's not all the noise and chaos out there. The problem actually starts inside, with a huge misunderstanding of who you are and what you're even trying to do in the first place.
This slide just nails it. You can't think of the market as one big stadium where everyone's playing the same sport. A much better way to picture it is like a busy city intersection. You've got cars trying to get somewhere super fast, you've got pedestrians patiently waiting for the walk signal, and you have cyclists just weaving through it all. They're all in the same space, but their goals, their rules, their sense of time, completely different. That's the market.
Okay, so if it's not one big game, what are the different games being played? Well, the book breaks it down into 3 basic roles, and each one has its own rule book, its own mindset, and really its own definition of what winning even looks like. Getting a grip on these is the first huge step toward clarity.
First up, we've got the trader. Now, a real professional trader isn't a gambler, not even close. They're basically running a risk-control business. The key words you got to remember are structure and process. They only care about one thing: which way is the price moving? And they use a system that they can repeat. And this is so crucial. They know exactly how much they can lose before they ever click the buy button. That stop loss, it's not just a nice idea, it's a non-negotiable rule.
Next, we have the speculator, and this is probably the most misunderstood role of them all. This is not just throwing darts at a board. Real speculation is a calculated bet on uncertainty. A speculator is looking at a specific future event that the market hasn't priced in yet. Maybe a new policy, a tech breakthrough, something like that. It's all driven by a strong belief, and it requires a ton of patience because the timing is completely out of your hands.
And finally, the investor. These guys are playing on a totally different field. They are not renting stocks, they are buying pieces of actual businesses. Their goal is to grow their wealth slowly and patiently through ownership, letting the company's earnings and the magic of compounding do all the heavy lifting. For an investor, time isn't the enemy, it's their single most powerful weapon.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. I mean, just look at the time horizons. A trader is thinking in minutes or days. An investor is thinking in years, maybe even decades. And how they think about risk? They're worlds apart. A trader's risk is that small, controlled loss on one trade. For an investor, the real risk isn't the stock price dropping for a bit, it's the actual business failing and their money vanishing for good. And this brings us to the most critical part of our whole conversation, the danger of role confusion. This is the trap. This is where smart people with good intentions end up with absolutely disastrous results. It's basically like showing up to a chess tournament and trying to win by playing checkers. It just doesn't work.
This slide shows the classic, dangerous path. And it starts so innocently, right? You get into a trade, you have a clear plan. But then, the trade goes against you. And instead of taking that small planned loss, you hesitate. You ignore your own stop loss. And right there, in that moment, hope completely takes over your process. You start frantically searching online for some news story, any reason at all to justify holding on. And just like that, you've stopped being a trader. You've just become an accidental speculator, trapped in a losing position with zero plan.
It all comes down to this fundamental psychological battle: control versus conviction. A trader's confidence comes from control, knowing their exact downside. A speculator or an investor's confidence comes from conviction, a deep belief in a future outcome. So a trader asks, how much am I risking? A speculator asks, how big could this get if it works? You physically cannot prioritize both of those things in the same decision. One has to win, and your choice defines the game you're actually playing. And listen, this isn't some new age theory. This whole framework is built on the hard-won wisdom of market legends. Their incredible success wasn't just about being great at picking stocks, it was about knowing exactly what game they were playing and having the discipline to stick to its rules no matter what.
I mean, look at Benjamin Graham, the guy who mentored Warren Buffett. He drew a very hard line in the sand. For him, an investment had to do two things: promise that your initial capital was safe and offer a decent return. He said literally everything else is, by definition, speculation. Now, he didn't say speculation was bad, but he knew that confusing it with investing was the absolute fastest way to fool yourself and lose all your money.
Warren Buffett's own career is the perfect example of this in action. He started out almost like a speculator, buying what he called cigar butts, these cheap beat-up companies. But then he evolved. He realized the real power was in owning wonderful businesses and then doing the hardest thing in the world: nothing. He went all in on the role of a long-term business owner, and that incredible clarity is what his legendary success is built on.
Then there's the amazing example of Radhakrishnan Damani. His genius isn't in making flashy predictions, it's in his quiet, steady discipline. He is living proof that you do not need constant action to build incredible wealth. In fact, his career teaches us that wealth is often built in the quiet moments, through patience, discipline, and understanding that sometimes the absolute smartest move you can make is no move at all.
So, after all that, the most important question comes right back to you. The whole point of this isn't to say one role is the best. It's to give you a mirror for some really honest self-reflection, so you can figure out which role is the best for you. And this requires being brutally honest about your own life. What's your real financial situation? How much time can you actually give to this? Do you have hours to sit in front of a screen, or just a few minutes a week? And what kind of pain can you really handle? The sting of 100 small losses? The agony of being wrong for months at a time? Or what about the mind-numbing pain of boredom? Your answers to these questions will point you straight towards your natural role. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this powerful truth. Success in the market isn't about finding the perfect strategy. It's about finding a strategy that you can personally live with, through the good times and the really, really bad times. The market doesn't just reward how smart you are or how ambitious you are, it rewards alignment. Alignment between your strategy, your personality, and your actual life.
And that's the real promise here. Getting this clarity isn't some get-rich-quick trick. It's more of a stay sane and stay in the game strategy. The goal isn't to be smarter than the market. The goal is to stop being your own worst enemy, to stop making those expensive, frustrating mistakes that always happen when you're fighting against your own nature.
So let's end with this final thought. The question almost everyone asks is, okay, so which role makes the most money? But that's the wrong question. The right question, the one that actually leads to lasting success, is this: which role can I execute consistently, day in and day out, without fighting myself? Which one fits my nature so perfectly that I won't break my own rules when the pressure's on? Find the answer to that question, and you will have found your true edge in the market.